Hey, Legacy Builders, this is Melinda Colón, and I want to welcome you to the Legacy Builders Unleashed podcast, the go to podcast for visionary entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders who are ready to scale their businesses fast while leaving a lasting impact. Each episode will deliver actionable insights on marketing, business strategy, and mindset tailored to legacy builders. Whether you're scaling to your next million, refining your systems, or looking to cement your influence for generations to come, this podcast will empower you to level up and build a legacy that stands the test of time. Now let's get into today's episode. I've heard it different ways. It's either 90% preparation or 99% preparation and 1 or 10% execution. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about scaling with purpose and the business systems behind fast growth, really diving into the key systems needed to scale quickly without sacrificing quality, covering from automation, delegation, and building high performance teams to drive growth. And we have a lot to cover, but I want to make sure that we simplify so that we can scale. So, in today, I want to talk about the purpose of scaling. Purpose of scaling is not just to make more money. It actually is bigger than that. Scaling or making more money is an output or is a result of something that you've done to build high performance or momentum in your systems in your business. And the basic systems when you're getting started are obviously, you need something at awareness, consideration, conversion, activation, and advocacy phases that are going to just basically guide the client or customer through the entire process of doing business with you. Super simple, doesn't need to be automated. Well, once you find out that something is working and it is improving the customer or the client's journey, then that is when I believe it should be automated. Years ago, when you were starting out online, there was so many different automation solutions and, buy these email templates, buy these social media posts, buy this, buy that, all within this box. And you could customize basically the company name and put personalization to it, and that was it. And a lot of people just ran with it. And what really concerned me is that every single customer, or how I'm going to phrase this as a buyer, is they're completely different. They have a completely different perspective on your business and how you provide value to them. In fact, they're not even thinking about your business per se, they're thinking about themselves. Like, you go to the grocery store and you might be picking up a few items, just like the regular staples. Do you ever consider the grocery stores, you know, um, cost of their overhead expenses, or how many people are, on site, and, the how many lines they have open, or you don't think of those things first and foremost when you walk through the door. And sometimes you don't even think of them at all unless you're Melinda, where I think about all businesses because I love being a business strategist. But surely most people don't think about, and it's because you're thinking about what's in it for you. Do they have eggs? Do they have bread? Do they have things that I want so that I don't have to run around town getting them? Making it as convenient and easy as possible for their buyers. So that means that every single customer or every single buyer that goes through your process is going to be expecting a completely different thing. So I created this model, and it's a little complex, but I'm just going to brush over it quickly and not really dive into it because it is a whole entire system that is really robust but works really, really well. And it's called the 37 buyer types. And 37 buyer types basically mean the types of buyers that actually enter in your environment. They're broken down into four categories. The first buyer that you have to convince and you provide value is yourself. And then there are separate, three different categories among that, which is clients, customers, and partners. Clients are people that come back, right? They're just like, I want to stay with you. I want to give you ideas. I want to give you all of the advice of whatever it is needed. I'm going to tell all my friends how amazing you are. Those are your clients. They're great, and they'll stay with you for a lifetime if you take care of them and treat them right. Customers, on the other hand, are people that just take what they need and they go. And sometimes it's it's can be a little confusing because you're expecting someone to be a client, but they're truly just a customer. And that has a lot to do with how you're onboarding them and educating yourself on who they are during discovery. Then there are partners. So partners can be affiliates. They could be referrals. They like a referee, someone that sends you business. It could be so many things, JV partners, things like that. But as I'm talking about it, don't you see that there's different types of people? Like if it's an affiliate versus a JV partner, it's a completely different relationship and different needs and different questions that they need to be answered. The same thing with clients and customers. A client is always going to want to know what's going on. They're going to want to know the behind the scenes because they've earned that right and they appreciate it. Whereas customers are like, I just want the thing and let me go on my way. Now, customers sometimes do come back and they just need a little bit more nurturing to become a client. But oftentimes, there are customers that just love to be customers. They like to pick up the thing and just get out the door and that's it. They don't ever want to get an email ever again from you or ever bothered until they need something. However they learn or however they experience decision making is how you need to customize your automation. And so it's not going to be like a one and done email to welcome all your customers and partners and your clients. It's going to be customized based off what you expect them to be, 6 months, 10 months, a year, 2 years from now. The life expectancy or the client expects the lifetime expectancy for a client or customer in an agency model, because I have an agency, is about 18 months. So I heard that this is really long. I mean, we've had clients that stay with us for a lot longer than that and consider us the go-tos. So it kind of just depends on what you're delivering, what you're serving, and how you're ascending them to the next opportunity. And it doesn't need to be a convoluted new opportunity. It could be a slight tweak from what they're already doing now, but creating a new offer within the process. That's like really automation. It's like, where do you want to start? You first want to start with knowing that it's working, right? It's working and it's appreciated and it's providing value to their life. If it's not, then it might need to be adjusted and you might need to do an A/B test or some alterations until you get to the point where at every phase of the client journey or the customer journey, as most people call it, is something that is going to be of value to them and nothing less than that. And what I use for automation when it comes to email marketing or social media, I mean, all of it is pretty much going to be fed the same. And I'll explain this to you in a second what I mean by that. So there are a lot of strategies for creating content, a lot of strategies, but I'm going to give you a simple way of creating content that you can automate quite simply from your CRM. So it's just a few years ago, we started getting like this influx of discovery call requests. So I was probably booking a discovery call 2 or 3 times a week, which is a lot for a startup agency. But at that point, I mean, we had already surpassed the 6-figure threshold. I was starting to build a team. I mean, just a few years in, and we were doing great. Well, um, I started thinking about automation because I was like, this is exhausting. I have to send every email out. I'm doing this, that, and the other. But then I started making adjustments to the way that my workflow um, existed so that I was doing a little less and I was simplifying the process so that I could do the proper A/B test. So what I started out with is just email templates, and I just built them into my email provider, which is Outlook and Gmail, and I was just setting them on a template. And so when I would have a conversation with someone, then I knew exactly what template to pull out. Well, after a while, I then evolved to adding this information into a CRM. So I started building up my CRM in Monday.com, and then I added a field in the leads section for like, discovery. So like what did I discover on the call about my customers and clients and partners that I wanted to keep track of? Well, the more that I accumulated this information, the more that I realized that there was a consistent, repetitive message between client to client and customer to customer, partner to partner. So when I recognized that, then I took it to the next level and I said, okay, so if we're starting to see a pattern here, how can I use this content that I'm generating in our discovery call to create social media content, email content, blog content to attract even more buyers? And this is what I did. So what I did is during the discovery call, I started recording them, and then I would take the transcript from the discovery call, which later was just, I think it was Otter AI that we started using, and asked and basically just dropped it into an AI and asked for all of the questions that the speaker would ask, the guest would ask the speaker, and it would spit out all these questions. And with my notes and what I was putting in CRM, I had basically a list, I mean so long, a list of things that were basically questions that people had during the awareness phase of their customer, client, or partner journey, and that became content. Now, this is where I started geeking out on neuromarketing, because neuromarketing, NEURO marketing, is neuroscience with marketing with a twist. So it's kind of like, understanding what it looks like for a buyer to make a decision when they experience any of your stuff. Like if they go to the website, there's like heat spots where they stop and they scroll and they click, and what do they pause on? What do they read? Things like that. There's all these technologies that do that now. And the same thing with impressions, like the higher content for social media with impressions, I was tracking that way more than likes and comments, because I realized that one key factor or key characteristic about my buyer, they were all introverts. And so with introverts, they're hidden. They're kind of like hiding in plain sight, and they usually are overthinkers. Think people that stay in thought a lot longer than extroverts. So because of that, I wanted to make sure that my content answered multiple questions, because I knew that the next question that they have is something that they would ask themselves or go digging in another place, which oftentimes I prove that with just doing some SEO research and finding out that these are the next questions that they would ask themselves or Google. And when I found this information, then I created content, or I created and added to the spreadsheet that we were starting to create for awareness content and consideration content. So that really kind of started the whole automation of like what type of content to create, how to use automation so that it made the most sense. We were just going to create a whole bunch of content and not know whether or not it was going to hit or miss. We wanted to be customized based off the ideal client that we chose, that we selected, and then reverse reverse engineering the entire process to focus on that buyer and no one else. And everyone that we attracted were more than likely A plus clients. And then there were a few B's and C's, and they kind of just dragged from there. It was just like we've mostly had A plus clients, and then less B's, less C's, and way less D's. And it made it easier for us because now we can just hone in and focus on one message. And that really helped us craft out a brand. I really think that even though branding comes first before marketing, it's the brand evolution that we need to be able to create in the process. So, branding is something that has to do with your voice, your tone, your mission, vision, values, and that together with marketing is the messaging part, how to get it out there into the world. And after a while, once you start working with your ideal client, once you start delivering the solution and products, and you start realizing, well, my brand has evolved, and you need to go back to that messaging and adjust that and make sure that your customers, your buyers are all being adjusted along the way. And this works for, I mean, this strategy is working for startups, is working for mid-sized businesses, and those that are established, making millions and billions of dollars that are just like, where do we even start with creating content? Well, the number one thing is to look for what people are already talking about and then mixing it in with your own flavor, is how I explain it best to my clients. When it comes to delegation, so I have a strategy with delegation, and it's really, really important that you follow it when it comes to delegation because a lot of people are like, well, what do I delegate? How do I delegate? And I'll put it this way, because your business is intended to make money, anything that is not money or revenue generating is second to priority. It is not a priority. So only the things that are priority are revenue generating activities. Those are things you want to make sure that people are in the right place that have the expertise to deliver on the thing. You're not going to look for people for the cheapest to do your email marketing to nurturing your systems because they might not know your audience. So it's like, are they the best of the best or are they close to being the best of the best? Are they the best that you can get? You want to make sure that you have a close eye on that because any content that is going to your existing customers, clients, or partners is so crucial. It's like so, because that is really a validation that they made a good decision to select you as their partner. So you want to make sure that all of the messaging that you utilize in this client's journey or the buyer's journey is consistent with who you say you are and you're not templatizing or like mixing it up with different people that might not know your brand yet. So that's the first thing about delegation that I would say is revenue generating activities are prioritized. Everything else goes into two buckets from there is delete and decide. So it's decide, delegate, and delete. This is basically the three steps: decide, delegate, delete. But we've talked about delegation first when we start talking about systems because we want to first eliminate things that are not revenue generating activities. Once you've done that, then you have a smaller focus and you have more energy to focus on those priorities. So anything that is going to be like research based or, that needs some type of filtering system by a human being can just like 100% be um, uh, delegated to an AI solution or something that is very cost effective, that is automated, that's quick, that's fast, that doesn't require very much money because it's just something that it still needs to get filtered through by human beings. And then anything else besides revenue generating and research or tasks that will be filtered through a human being honestly goes on the wish list. Because if you can't, like how I look at it is I call it the power of three. So there's power of three activities every single day that I focus on. I try not to get overwhelmed with any more than that because I know that there is distraction. So the average person gets 2,500 emails a day, right? So between, or 25 notifications per day, excuse me, not emails, total notifications between your text messages, your social media notifications, your emails, and your phone calls. And that's a lot of distractions. So when I'm thinking about what is important to my buyer, I'm thinking about, well, they're trying to solve a very painful problem. And that's the only reason that I am still their partner or I will be their partner. Anything else is just noise. So, how can I simplify it so that they're getting the highest performing experience from me and my team? And everything else is a wish list item, whether it needs to be addressed personally or it needs to be consolidated into another product or solution that can be delivered to our buyers that are actually interested in those things. If it does not become a revenue generating activity, those items on the wish list, I don't even address it. I just leave it on the wish list because I know at the end of the day, even though I think I want to or I need to get those things done, it doesn't make or break the success of my business. So, in terms of systems, we talked about automation, we talked about delegation and high performance activities. And to put it all together is SOPs or standard operating procedures. I don't care if you're starting out, mid-sized business, or you're an enterprise size organization. I've worked with all of you. And in various industries. And I highly recommend that you start documenting your processes even when you are a startup. Why? Because if you follow my systems and you take any of my programs or work with me, you'll realize that you scale your business way faster than anybody else. And you're going to need those SOPs to refer to as you delegate out to team and solutions. And that's just a word of advice and encouragement, because I know that my work really works. My systems work and they scale extremely fast, sustainably for many, 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 many entrepreneurs so far in my career. And I'm so excited about the future of that. But SOPs, so how do you create the sexiest SOP possible? You're going to want to include the written aspect of it. So like the step-by-step guide, step one, do this, step two, do this, step three, do this, and either an audio and a video or just a video version with audio in addition to um, just a link to start the process. So you want to make sure that you're including all that information. I like to also indicate when it's last updated as we change systems or our SOPs change, or maybe our automation or email templates, etc., and modify them as needed. And I have it all in one document. So an SOP per document, and I organize it in the nomenclature of the SOP. I'll list out specifically the department of my organization. So if it's marketing, if it's branding, copywriting, HR, um, finances, or payroll, just really outlining specifically each department in the SOP name, and that way it gets all organized. And that way I know which ones need to be created. But it also, on when you start onboarding team, they know exactly what SOPs they need to be familiar with. Now, with the creation of SOPs, I started creating them myself. And when I started onboarding team, that's when I actually had the team build the SOP for me, and then we would review that and I would edit it, or we would edit it together, so that whatever I said, so the video with the audio would be me walking through it with them and them asking questions, and then or just me doing it by myself. And then I would ask them to take the transcript from Loom. So we would use loom.com, take this transcript from Loom, upload it to chat, and do a step-by-step guide from chat, and copy and paste that in and just double check it based off the video, walk through the steps themselves, and if they need to take screenshots, do that and put them into the SOP. Why is this so important? I'll tell you why. Because even when you're starting your business or you're just hitting your six or first seven, the what I see most, especially when it comes to software solutions for businesses that are in the millions and billions, is that they have um, a low retention rate when it comes to new softwares like CRM systems, email builders, things like that. And I really believe it's because they didn't get clear on their systems. And you're trying to basically teach people to do something completely different outside of their habitual state, and that's very uncomfortable. So because it's uncomfortable, it's like building friction into your business and where there shouldn't be any friction. So getting clear on your systems and processes, that way when you do hire for a CRM solution or any type of third party builder that's going to be integrated into your company, you can just whip out your SOP, share that with the third party, and be like, this is how we do things. Can you make it work like this? And they'll come back and say, cool. All right. So I know exactly how to build it for you so that you have a high retention and migration rate, and people actually start using the solution that you've already paid thousands upon thousands of dollars for. So that's why an SOP is powerful, because it starts to become an asset for your business. And later on, it just actually becomes the asset, one of the many assets that you build for your business. If and when you choose to sell it, you have an entire library of how to run a business that you It's basically built, customized for your business. So I hope that this episode was really helpful for you and kind of dived into the business systems and how to do it so that's basically for fast growth. I mean, if you simplify it and focus specifically on the step by steps and really just focus on two things. First, you always want to focus on your client, making sure that they're satisfied and okay with the way that they're receiving the transformation that you're delivering. And then B is then you go ahead and you start building out automations and start delegating those tasks and responsibilities because now you have set a standard to meet and exceed for the future. So I hope that this was really helpful for you and it provided you value, and just you appreciate it. I mean, the world continues to evolve and change, and your messaging will evolve and change as your customers will evolve and change. And knowing that you have a scaling business on purpose will help you fast track your growth and allow yourself to really step into ease and eliminate overwhelm. This is Melinda Colón, your host here at Legacy Builders Unleashed, and I look forward to speaking to you and hearing from you next episode.